Alright, I'm going to do this over because I just made this whole lesson and the sound wasn't working. So here we go. Quadratic formula is where we are. And so you're flipping to page 4 to the one that says, I'll slip this in here, quadratic formula. So here we go. This is not new, this is old stuff, it's review stuff. So let's start out. I'm going to do this kind of fast because I wanted to already be gone from here. We're going to put everything in standard form. ax squared plus bx equals c. Everything is on one side. Your quadratic term, your linear term, your constant is all equal to 0. You need to do it this way so that you can identify what these coefficients and what the constant is so that you can put it into your quadratic formula. When we did this before, I made a big deal about that discriminant. The discriminant is the thing under the radical. It's the b squared minus 4ac. And we make the big deal about that discriminant because if you find that discriminant first, it tells you a lot about your answers. It tells you everything about your answers except for what they actually are. Your discriminant, if it is less than 0, it's negative, you're going to have 2 imaginary solutions. You're going to have i's in your answers. If your discriminant is positive, it's bigger than 0, then you're going to have 2 real solutions, roots, zeros, x-intercepts. There may be a square root left in your answer, but it's going to be real numbers that you can put on the x-axis. If your discriminant is equal to 0, then you're going to have only 1 real root that will be on your x-axis, because if your discriminant is 0, that's this part, it kind of takes all of that away and you just have negative b over 2a. And that's really just your vertex if you remember that from 10th grade. So put it in standard form, identify your a, b, c, put it into formula, solve it, and we can check it if we feel like we need to. So here we go. Example 1. I have negative x squared minus 2x minus 1 equals 0. It's in standard form. Identify your a, b, and c. A is negative 1, b is negative 2, c is negative 1. If you go ahead and do that, that helps you out a lot sometimes because you don't get quite so lost in where things are. So now, let's put it into our discriminant first. Our discriminant is b squared. You just need to be in the habit of putting the b in parentheses. Because if it's negative and you're using your calculator and you don't use parentheses, it's going to mess you up. So b squared minus 4ac. Plug that into your calculator. And we're going to do b squared minus 4ac. And I got 0. So my discriminant here is 0. If it's 0, then I'm going to have 1 real root, solution, x-intercept, I forget the other word. Anyway, you're going to have 1 solution. So here we go. When we plug it into our when we plug it into our quadratic formula, x is equal to the opposite of b, so it's a positive 2, plus or minus the square root of my discriminant, which is 0, over 2 times a, which is negative 1. So really all you have in your calculator is 2. We don't even need that calculator. If you take the square root of 0, it's 0, and 2 plus or minus 0 is still just 2. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and so my only solution is where x is negative 1. That means I'm going to have a graph that looks like this. And I know that it opens down because that lead coefficient is negative. That's some 10th grade stuff for you. Alright, example 2. I have negative 13x squared minus 2x plus 13 is equal to negative 8x squared minus 5x. It is not in standard form, and I need everything on one side. So I'm going to use these inverse operations to move things over and line up like terms. So this side gives me 0. Negative 13x squared plus 8x squared is going to give me a negative 5x squared. Negative 2x plus 5x is going to give me a positive 3x. plus 13. So these are my variables. A is negative 5, my coefficients. A is negative 5, B is 3, C is 13. So let's find that discriminant. Your discriminant is the opposite of, it is not. The discriminant is B squared minus 4 times A times C. Let's find what that is. So I'm going to have B squared minus 4 times A times C. Gives me 269. It's a positive number, so I'm going to have two real roots. They may be decimal numbers when I find them. They may still have a square root left in them, but they're going to be real numbers that can go on my x-axis. So let's find what x is. X is the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of 269. That's a 6. It looks bad. 269 over 2 times a, and a is negative 5. So we're just going to plug this into our calculator. That's a 269 is my discriminant that was right here. So let's go to the calculator, hit your fraction, negative 3 plus the square root of 269 over 2 times negative 5. And this is what I get. Did I do that right? The opposite of b is 3. Okay. So I got 3 plus or minus the square root of 269 over 10. Those are my two answers. It's 3 plus the square root of 269 over 10 and 3 minus the square root of 269 over 10. And I can get decimal approximations for those and find where they would be on my graph. Third example, I have negative 3b squared equals negative 32 plus 4b. Now this old creature of habit is going to bring everything to the left side because it's just what I do. So I'm going to use my inverse operations to move these over here. And some of you people are thinking, why is she doing all of that when she could just move the 3b squared over there? And you're right. But I just like for everything to be on the left side. It's just my little, who I am, I guess. So I have negative 3b squared. There are no like terms to put together. We're going to put it in standard form. Minus 4b plus 32 equals 0. Identify your variables. A is negative 3. B is negative 4. Your coefficients and your constant, and C is 32. I keep saying the wrong thing. So let's find the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared, that's a negative 4. So we're going to do negative 4 squared minus 4 times a times c. So in my calculator, negative 4 squared minus 4 times a, negative 3 times 32. Just typing it in on my calculator like it is on my paper, and I get 400. That's a positive number. That means I'm going to have two real roots. So now let's find what our variable is equal to. B is the opposite of b. I wish I hadn't used b for a variable, but it's too late. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of 400, that's my discriminant, over 2 times a. And you just type it into your calculator. So we have fraction, we're going to do negative 4 plus the square root of 400 over 2 times negative 3, and I got negative 8/3. Did I do that right? No, I did not do that right. The opposite of b, that should have been a positive. So let me go back in here. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Let me go, oh my great day in the morning. I'll just retype it. So it's 4 plus the square root of 400 over 2 times negative 3. and I got -4. Okay. I already knew the answer. That's how I knew it was wrong. So b is -4. If that happens and you get a whole number, that means you have to go back and do it again, but you have to subtract right here. So the easy thing to do is highlight it, press enter, and either push your little arrow buttons over. I like to go up and back down so that it takes me to the front, and then come over and change that to subtraction, and I get a positive 8/3. So these are my 2 real roots. Okay, so this is old stuff. I expect you to be able to do this with a fair amount of ease. It shouldn't be anything super complicated. We'll go over any questions that you have in class tomorrow.